this is kind of cool because I've met this gentleman before in another lifetime almost. Back when I was doing the TV thing at Channel 22, back in the I believe it was the 20th century, which kind of tells you how long he's been serving in state government. State Senator Joey Fillingane joins us. How are you this morning, Senator? Good to see you.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I told the senator out in the lobby. I said, I know you don't remember me. I remember you dropping by the studios of Channel 22 to do some interviews, whether it was campaign season or the how. At that time, you were in the House.
I was in the House then. Yes.
Whether he was just talking about issues that were facing the Pine Belt and the district that you were representing at the time, or what it was, but I do remember the senator, again, the representative dropping by then. So it's good to have you in here. Don't ever be a stranger. The door is always open.
Thank you.
And you picked a good day. Can we interest you in a hamburger? I mean,
or 6.
If you saw what I ate yesterday at the Memorial Day cookout at my house, you would not ask that question. But thank you.
So good for a day or two.
I'm good.
You're District 41, correct?
Yes, sir.
State Senator. Now, what is your constituency? What do you encompass?
So my district is a very rural, large district. I have all of Jefferson Davis, Covington, and Smith counties, and then portions of Forest and Lamar.
Very good.
Which is where I live down in Summerall.
Okay.
Yes.
And guess what? We're not going to talk politics today. How about that?
I'm open for politics. I love politics. Whatever you want to talk about.
Really?
Yes.
State flag.
For it.
Okay. Present day, the present state flag or a redesigned state flag?
Well, the voters spoke to that very issue. We put it on the ballot here about, 10 years ago, and I think it was an overwhelming vote in favor. So, I mean, I thought last time I checked, we still in a democracy, I think the people have spoken on that issue. Now, if somebody wants to have another referendum, I'm all in favor, but I think you're going to find that the results will be just as stark as it was the time before in favor of the flag.
But the democracy's there to be used, right?
Amen. Go for it.
Yeah, so not to put words in your mouth, but you're for the people deciding what banner we have running up the flagpole as opposed to the state legislature legislating
and I'm
what
for
flag.
Respecting the results of that.
Yeah.
It kind of irritates me a little bit when all these people call for referendums and then, they don't like the way the referendum comes out, so we need another referendum. I mean, look at Brexit over in the UK right now. Ask Theresa May how that's going for her. Not very well.
She's harder to reach these days.
Not returning her calls to
in front of 10 Downing Street. It's not crazy.
Yeah, the phone isn't being answered there. But along that same lines, I thought it was funny because the Clarion Ledger, and I guess through the Clarion Ledger, the Hattiesburg American also had a poll. It was at least on their webpage about here are the choices for a state flag, and they gave you about 5 or 6 different ones. They had the Stennis flag, that's just now the flag of the day. Right. I think the one that we voted on back in whenever that was, 2006 or whatever that year was. And at the very bottom, they had the present day one, so that you had to go through about 5 or 6 of them, and they had pictures representation.
Polling 101, you put the bad one, quote unquote, at the bottom.
And guess what won? Going away almost 3-1 over any other flag. The one that we actually have,
our flag.
Yeah, yeah. Which is, I think that is indicative of how a vote would turn out.
Yeah, and I think, sometimes politicians, and I are one, as they say, I think we start trying to second guess and we think we're smarter than the average cat out there. And really, our voters are pretty much on top of things when you check it out.
Sure.
From this heartbeat bill that we did this year.
I want to ask you about that next, but yeah.
State flag, any number of issues, our electorate is pretty informed.
Now, and you mentioned the heartbeat bill, and that has gotten a lot of national news, not just
national
news, but Alabama, Georgia now as well. Is a lot of the more conservative southern states, especially, have gone to this kind of bill.
Missouri.
Louisiana, yeah, exactly. So, how and since you're a lawyer, I'll ask you this in this realm: not how enforceable or how likely is it for it to be thrown out? I mean, I know we have a judge now that has already basically said, whoa, not so fast.
Right.
But how likely is it to stand up under scrutiny or be thrown back and said, this isn't going to fly, you guys need to rewrite it to do something different?
Yeah. Ultimately, it was no surprise that a very liberal Obama-appointed judge, Carlton Reeves, who sits in Jackson, has ruled our bill violates Roe v. Wade, and it does in many ways. Roe v. Wade basically it stands for the tenet that you can have an abortion up through the third trimester. What many states are now trying to do, including Mississippi, is to roll that back and say, wait a minute, back in 1973 when Roe v. Wade was decided, we didn't have the technology. We didn't have the ultrasounds and the sonograms. We didn't really know what was going on inside the mother's womb like we do now. And so you see the pro-abortion people now changing their arguments because technology really is driving how early a child can survive outside of the mother's womb. And now we can see with our own eyes, on the computer and TV screens, what's really going on there. So the whole idea that that's just a glob of tissue that one day might develop into something we know is just not even plausible anymore. It's not true. We can see that child is created in God's image and deserves protection. So the argument now before our newly composed Supreme Court, whether they take Mississippi's law or Alabama's law or Ohio's version, at some point very soon, one of these cases from the states will end up in front of the U.S. Supreme Court with this newly composed conglomeration of 5 conservatives and 4 liberals. Now, will they strike down Roe v. Wade? Will they send it back to the states to let the states decide how to regulate the issue of abortion? That's anyone's guess. But I think we as policymakers in the state like ours that is extremely conservative and extremely pro-life, our job is to echo what our constituents have asked us to do, which is to protect the unborn, while still trying to protect the mother's health and life as well. That's why we have exceptions in our law to protect the life of the mother, and in the event that any major bodily function of the mother would be impaired carrying the child to term, we allow an exception for that as well.
Is the I know I don't know whether it's Alabama or Georgia, but they basically even took the rape and incest thing off the table too.
Yeah.
Is that written into our law here in Mississippi?
There are no exceptions for rape or incest.
No exceptions.
No.
Okay.
And the idea there is that child didn't ask, as any of us do, to be brought into the world. Why would you penalize the child?
All right. I just wanted to clarify that. To make matters, or not to make matters, but to lighten up the topic here, because we've hit a couple of hot button issues. And I told the senator we sat down, I said, we're not going to talk politics. He goes, ask me anything. So okay, well, ask you.
I haven't hit anybody lately when they didn't undress quickly enough. If you want to know that.
Right now, there's some people in Greene County that are just absolutely loving that last statement.
Screaming.
Yeah. But no, you not only are you a state lawmaker and an attorney, you're also now becoming an author, and I think that's kind of interesting. And that's that's actually the impetus for Joey for joining us here this morning. By the way, Joey Fillingane,
thank you for having me.
State Senator from the 31st District. So you're writing a book. Are you in the process, or you have written a book?
Well, the first volume is available on Amazon.com right now, so it's done. But it represents about 205 pages of about 1,400 that I currently have typed, but just not all of it edited and ready yet.
Okay,
so this is the first book.
Okay, and would I be wrong in saying you're kind of the Mississippi answer to George R.R. Martin?
Yeah, I think,
for those who like Game of Thrones stuff.
If you like Game of Thrones, if you like Chronicles of Narnia or Lord of the Rings, it's sort of a take on that with some Christian undertones.
Okay.
Really, the theme behind it tracks the lives of 4 late teens through a bunch of fantasy type adventures, and very similar to the Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, if you will. But it tries not to be preachy. But I think the point is that we ought not to be defined by the worst mistake that we have made in our lives, and that there is an opportunity, if you want, to get back on track and to have some redemption in your life. And there's a God that loves us unconditionally, and so those are the themes that I try to put out here in the kingdom.
Do you find as writing this, because I know some people might have a little bit of a problem with a fantasy book and a Christian message together. You understand what I'm trying to get to here is that they may not be able to coexist, kind of thing. I know I'm fine with it.
We wouldn't have the Hallelujah chorus if those people had their way. Okay, art can be inspired by Christianity 100% of the time.
I'm just saying a story that is
I think Da Vinci would disagree.
Yeah, well,
with that
okay. So you don't have any.
Michelangelo might have problems with it.
The Sistine Chapel's awfully nice. Just gonna say.
But have you heard, or have you had any pushback on, say, of some?
Sure.
I hate to use the term fundamentalist, but that's the term I'm going to use.
I've not had any pushback from the fundamentalists, but I have had pushback a little bit. I mean, I'm having to reach here, but it's only been released since last month, since early April, and so there's a Facebook site, and there have been a few haters out there, but it wasn't because it was fundamentalists. It was actually, I think, just people that just think that religion should have no place in the public sphere, and just
Good luck.
Yeah, just
Okay.
like,
All right.
you're a politician. Why are you trying to hawk this book
Okay.
or whatever?
Okay. So actually, you're getting the pushback from the other side.
Yeah,
pretty
from
much.
the side you'd want pushback from.
Yeah,
It tells me this is an effective message.
Okay.
Don't you love that? This idea
weird.
of you're a politician, so you can't do this. Meanwhile, every single founding father was a farmer, scientist, writer, lawyer.
Yeah, well, you
The
can't live on
Renaissance-
$10,000 a year, at least last time I checked, which is what we get paid.
But
so,
being good at multiple things and being inspired by multiple things is fundamentally American.
absolutely, I think you're on point with that.
So if you're borrowing, I don't say borrowing, but if you're in the same genre as, say, the Lord of the Rings or the
Chronicles of
Game of Thrones,
Narnia, Game of Thrones.
Okay, do you have a talking lion?
I don't have a talking lion.
Dragons? Do we have any
But
dragons?
in the second book, which is not out yet, just a little teaser, there are some talking animals.
Okay.
And there's going to be a dragon, but he has not emerged yet.
Look at him get all excited about the talking
Yeah.
animals.
Exactly.
9, like.
There's
I love
think
this
there's a
stuff.
talking ant and a talking bird, maybe
All
in
right.
the second book.
All right, very good.
I would weirdly pay attention to what an ant has to say.
Yeah.
He sees things from a different perspective.
Very
Hey,
much
anybody
so.
who can lift 1,000 times his own weight?
a good
Exactly.
point.
Yeah,
Smart.
without
smart animal.
steroids. I mean, come on now. Come on now. What? You know what? I don't even think we. What is it? What's the title of the book?
It's called The Kingdom.
The Kingdom.
And you can go to Amazon.com, type in The Kingdom by Joey Fillingane, it'll pop right up.
And we'll
Very
get
good.
a picture before you head out and put it
Yes.
on the
Thank
books
you
of
so
faces.
much.
Absolutely so. Senators, thank you for coming in. We appreciate
It's
it.
an honor. Y'all are widely listened to, and I really appreciate the
And then we have
opportunity
yet to
be
figure
here.
out why. We have yet to figure that out. 18
Well,
years
you're
and
doing
we've yet to-
something right.
I don't. Either that or everybody else is doing something horribly wrong. I'm not
Well,
really
you
sure
know,
which.
In politics, if you can pick your competitor, that's a good thing usually. Ask Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
Sleepy Joe and that whole crowd.
State Senator Joey Fillingane. The book is called The Kingdom.